Hey there, welcome back to my YouTube channel. We dive into the fascinating world of rare coins, priceless errors, and extraordinary collectibles that have captured the imagination of collectors around the globe. Today, we're unraveling one of the most intriguing and costly episodes in numismatic history, and trust me, you don't want to miss this story. It's about how a single 2008 1-cent coin ended up costing the US Mint a whopping $522 million due to a cascade of errors, mistakes, and unexpected twists of fate, ultimately making it an item of immense value. Now, whether you're a casual collector, a seasoned expert, or someone who's just curious about why some coins can be worth so much more than their face value, this story is guaranteed to blow your mind. Before we jump in completely, take a second to think about this. How can something as tiny and seemingly insignificant as a humble penny, a coin you might walk past on the street, end up costing more than $500 million? It sounds impossible, but we're about to break it down for you, step by step. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand how this happened but also why it happened, and how certain errors, oversights, and rare conditions can make something fundamentally ordinary turn extraordinarily valuable. Now grab your magnifying glass, because we're about to zoom in on the details of what went wrong with the 2008 1-cent coin. Let's start by digging into the root of the problem, and like most bizarre tales involving costly errors, this one begins with a small mistake that snowballed into something much bigger than anyone could have anticipated. The 2008 1-cent coin, or penny as it's commonly called, is part of the Lincoln Wheat reverse cent series which ran for several decades and has a storied history behind it. The coin itself features the image of famed U.S. President Abraham Lincoln on its obverse side, a design that's so iconic and widely recognized that it has remained mostly unaltered for over a century since its introduction in 1909. The 2008 penny was a typical issue in many respects, meant to be mass-produced in enormous quantities, like any other circulating coin released by the U.S. Mint. However, this year's penny turned into a nightmare, and an expensive one, due to an extraordinary sequence of production errors and decisions that effectively rendered some of these coins into unintentional treasures. The story of this expensive mistake begins with the materials used for the penny's production. Prior to 1982, pennies in the US were primarily composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, but due to the rising cost of copper during the 1980s, the US Mint altered the material composition of pennies. Since then, pennies have been made by coating a small, thin layer of copper over a core that is mostly zinc, which is cheaper and lighter yet still allows coins to resemble the coppery hue for which pennies are known. However, the problem in 2008 lay within the planchets used, which are the blank metal discs specifically prepared for the coin stamping process. For reasons that remain somewhat unclear, some highly valuable 2008 pennies were accidentally struck on leftover copper planchets from earlier decades that had somehow made their way into the production line. The problem arose when the mint's machinery turned out to be incapable of properly sorting out the outdated copper planchets, as they were nearly indistinguishable from the more modern zinc-based planchets unless subjected to specific, meticulous testing. As a result, a batch of pennies featuring the wrong planchet material made it out into circulation before anyone realized the mistake. These, off-metal error, coins instantly became the kind of anomalies numismatists dream about, and they're one of the key reasons why some 2008 pennies are worth a small fortune today, but that's not all. This wasn't the only error tied to the 2008 pennies. Coin collectors began noticing odd anomalies on some of the pennies that were struck that year, ranging from double dies to errors in lettering and design details that rendered them unmistakably unique. A double die error occurs when a coin's design is struck twice, but instead of aligning perfectly, the die slightly shifts, creating a doubling effect that makes certain features of the coin look like they're repeated or shadowed. In simple terms, it almost looks like the letters or numbers on the coin are slightly blurred but duplicated, and, naturally, such coins rarely make it past inspection. However, 2008 brought in an unexpected batch of these production mistakes. From doubled Liberty lettering on the obverse side of the coin to faint doubling in the numbers of 2008 in the date field, these errors were particularly eye-catching to seasoned collectors. Striking issues weren't limited to doubling. Many coins showed misaligned or rotated dies, causing the design to appear significantly skewed compared to a proper, centered strike. In other cases, incomplete designs emerge due to low pressure on the dies during minting, leaving some portions of the coin shallow, devoid of detail, or outright missing. Such anomalies are exceedingly rare, turning any coin that bears these mistakes into a veritable goldmine for rarity-chasing enthusiasts. Another factor contributing to the costly debacle in 2008 involved printing overages, mismanagement in production oversight, and the unintentional leaking of test-run trial coins made under experimental conditions. The U.S. Mint occasionally produces test coins for calibration purposes when swapping to new machinery or testing alternative alloys for potential use in coinage. These test coins are never intended for circulation. In fact, they are supposed to be destroyed or archived for internal purposes only. But during the 2008 production run, a handful of experimental coins broke through security and somehow made their way into circulation, an embarrassing faux pas for any mint facility, as these coins shouldn't exist in anyone's pocket or collection. One example includes a few specimens struck on experimental blanks featuring alloy combinations that were undergoing trials like alternative mixes of nickel, tin, and other metals more economical than zinc and copper. These rare experimental coins turned into some of the most sought-after pieces of the year, as their very existence defied numismatic norms while also reigniting conversations over how effective the U.S. Mint's internal controls were at that time. At this point, you might be wondering, how did the sum of all these mistakes, off-metal errors, design anomalies, production malfunctions, and unauthorized experimental coins, lead to a $522 million price tag? You see, while individual coins with these errors are worth big money now due to collector demand, the broader financial blow came from the ripple effects of these chronic production issues. Reports revealed that billions of pennies minted in 2008 included subtle manufacturing defects that normally wouldn't matter. After all, everyday pennies are designed to be produced efficiently and inexpensively, except for the fact that rectifying these defects required halting production for extended inspections, remelting faulty planchets, recalibrating machinery, and replacing entire batches of rejected blank discs. The combined costs of minting delays, raw material wastage, and administrative investigations into why and how these errors happened forced the U.S. Mint to dip into taxpayer funds and supplemental budgets, ultimately revealing the astounding figure of $522 million tied to the entire 2008 production cycle. Finally, let's not forget the unparalleled rarity aspect. Errors in coins are inherently valuable because they occur so infrequently as a proportion of overall mint outputs. And when these errors can be tied to a specific year or production run that was otherwise normal, they become even more alluring to collectors. With 2008 pennies, every unique mistake we've discussed, from off-metal planchets to experimental blanks to doubled dies, adds to the mystique surrounding these forgotten treasures. Coins such as these aren't just tiny monetary artifacts, they represent snapshots of human error, technological imperfection, and fascinating glimpses into the complexities behind mass production on a national scale. For the average person who happens to stumble upon such a coin in their pocket change, it's nothing short of winning the lottery because the relative rarity of these coins means their value skyrockets at auctions and private sales. For example, one uncirculated 2008 penny struck on a solid copper planchet can fetch tens of thousands of dollars or more, depending on its condition, certification, and provenance in the collector's market. Taken together, the cumulative worth of all collectible error coins from just this 1 year far exceeds their original face value, creating a multi-million-dollar sensation that continues to baffle and intrigue coin enthusiasts worldwide. So, there you have it. The astonishing story of how the 2008 1-cent coin went from a humble penny to a $500 million disaster while also becoming an object of immense value to treasure hunters and collectors. It's amazing how a small coin, easily overlooked and underestimated in our daily lives, can carry a monumental story filled with twists, errors, and unexpected opportunities for those who truly pay attention to the details. If you're sitting at home wondering whether you might have one of these rare pennies tucked away in an old jar or purse, now's the time to check. You never know, you just might be holding on to a coin worth far more than it seems. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the fascinating world of coin errors and collector gems, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more jaw-dropping stories. Until next time, happy hunting, and may you always Next, 1992 1-cent USA coin. We explore the incredible stories behind the most fascinating and valuable coins ever minted, revealing hidden treasures and historic mishaps that have turned ordinary currency into astonishingly rare collectibles worth astronomical sums of money. Today, we're going to delve into one of the most extraordinary cases in numismatic history, focusing on the 1992 1-cent coin whose errors and production anomalies have caused it to be valued at an eye-popping $511 million, a figure that might sound unbelievable at first, but when we unravel the details, the layers of mistakes and possibilities that contribute to this immense value will become crystal clear. Whether you're a seasoned coin collector, an enthusiast eager to learn about rare minting errors, or simply curious about how and why certain coins gain such extraordinary worth, this story will captivate and enlighten you. So, strap in and prepare for a fascinating journey into the world of minting mistakes, off-metal strikes, die doubles, and intriguing production quirks that turned an otherwise unremarkable 1992 penny into a numismatic gem worth hundreds of millions. Imagine walking down the street, passing by countless pennies which most people discard without a second thought, yet hidden among them might be a coin so rare and laden with peculiar flaws that it transcends its mere 1-cent face value by an almost inconceivable margin. Today, we're going to unpack exactly what went wrong, and sometimes right, in the creation of the 1992 penny, and why those errors have turned it into one of the most valuable cents ever minted. The saga of the 1992 1-cent coin is deeply rooted in unusual manufacturing errors and unexpected material anomalies, all of which contributed to the soaring worth of specific specimens from that year. Unlike many error coins that are valuable simply because of rare die mistakes or misstrikes, the 1992 1-cent story is notable for involving multiple layers of errors that converged into a financial marvel. It begins with the fundamental issue of the coin's composition and the striking process. The year 1992 was a transitional moment in penny production. The United States Mint had been producing pennies composed primarily of a zinc core with a thin copper plating since 1982 due to the skyrocketing cost of copper metal. However, in 1992, production challenges related to material quality control and die maintenance led to an unprecedented set of errors. Some pennies produced that year used improper planchets, metal discs prepared for coin manufacturing, that deviated greatly from specification, leading to coins with far more copper content than designed, and others, surprisingly, completely off-metal strikes. These off-metal strikes came partially as a result of leftover metal planchets from old copper stock mixing inadvertently with the intended zinc/plated copper setup. The presence of these roughly pure copper planchets not only changed the physical properties of the coin but transformed the 1992 penny into what collectors now realize is an amazing rarity. One of the core mistakes that made the 1992 penny so valuable was a series of errors involving the coin's planchets. A planchet is the raw metal blank used to strike coins, and in a well-run facility, only planchets matching extremely tight standards in thickness, diameter, and metal composition are used. However, in 1992, due to unexpected missteps in quality control and planchet preparation equipment, some of the pennies were struck on planchets that were imported accidentally or never meant to be used. For example, some planchets intended for foreign coin production, or even for special test runs, entered the minting process unnoticed. This introduced unusual metal alloys into the batch, including copper-nickel blends and nearly pure copper discs, in direct contrast with the standard zinc core and thin copper plating. These anomalies caused visible differences in color, weight, and even how the coin struck on these planchets aged over time, making them extremely distinctive upon examination. Some of these coins appeared much heavier or exhibited a different surface luster than ordinary 1992 pennies, essentially defining rare off-metal errors that have fascinated coin collectors worldwide. This phenomenon vastly increased the monetary worth of these coins, because rarity, unique physical traits, and historical anomalies are like holy grails in the coin collecting world. Further complicating the 1992 penny situation was a notorious double die error that plagued that year's minting process. A double die occurs during the die creation stage, when the engraving of the coin's design onto the metal die is accidentally impressed twice in slightly different positions. The result is coins struck with design features showing a double image effect, duplicated letters, numbers, or design elements that stand out distinctly to the trained eye. In 1992, this error appeared predominantly on the obverse side of the coin, especially noticeable in the inscription "Liberty," where the doubling effect caused a ghostly repetition of letters, especially the B and R, contributing to immediate collector interest and skyrocketing sales in niche coin auction houses. But the doubled die wasn't uniform. It exhibited variations wherein some coins were almost perfectly doubled, while others only showed subtle traces. This diversity meant that multiple subsets of double die varieties emerged for 1992 pennies, creating a collector frenzy attempting to categorize and acquire every variant. The rarity and clear visual distinction this era produced propagated the 1992 pennies market value exponentially, as collectors recognized their rarity relative to the vast millions of ordinary pennies minted each year. But there was more to the uniqueness of the 1992 penny than just the planchet and doubled die errors. Another significant contributing factor to its unprecedented valuation lies within the misaligned strikes and broad strike errors manifested in that year's production line. A broad strike error happens when the coin is struck without a properly secured collar holding the planchet, causing the metal to spread outward and resulting in an enlarged diameter, flattened edges, and often partial or incomplete design details. In 1992, due to poor maintenance of minting equipment and lapses in the oversight process, a surprisingly large batch of pennies emerged with broad strike defects, which were immediately recognized by coin specialists and prized for their rarity and distinctive appearance. These coins are significantly larger than typical pennies, sometimes measuring several millimeters above standard diameter, and selling for values far exceeding their face worth or even other error types. The very existence of this broad strike error combined with misaligned dies, which caused the design elements to appear rotated or skewed relative to the coin's rim, made these pennies unlike any others from the era, further solidifying 1992 as a vintage remarkable for errors. Coin collectors also eagerly seek out 1992 pennies featuring missing or doubled edges, a type of strike error where the coin either lacks typical rim depth or has multiple overlapping rings due to misalignment of the collar sheath during the die strike. Rim errors can vary from complete omnipresence, coins lacking a rim entirely, to partial occurrences that result in a split rim effect, which generates a rare and attractive variation. The increased visibility and rarity of these rim anomalies in 1992 pennies add to their overwhelming desirability and monetary value among numismatic circles. Add to these factors the relatively large mintage numbers of 1992 pennies, meaning that error coins find themselves amidst an enormous base population, which ironically both increases the likelihood of finding such a coin yet also emphasizes their rarity given the deep search required to identify and authenticate these anomalies. Authenticity is key, because as is common with high-value coins, forgeries and artificially altered specimens exist, driving the market towards premium certification services such as the Professional Coin Grading Service or Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, further boosting prices for genuine rare error coins from 1992. Additionally, the problem in 1992 wasn't limited to just the coins themselves, it extended into the mint's internal records and production tracking systems. An unprecedented administrative mix-up muddled the tracking of specific batches of pennies, producing gaps and inconsistencies in production logs, leaving researchers and collectors with tantalizing mysteries about exactly how many error coins were produced and retained. Certain batches, assigned to particular die pairs or production runs, vanished from records or were incomplete, sparking speculation about possible destruction of faulty coins, unauthorized release of rare errors into circulation, or accidental hiding of valuable specimens. This cryptic situation only fueled the coin community's fascination and speculation as to the total number of surviving error pennies from the 1992 run, further inflating demand through scarcity and the mystique of hidden treasure, coins still possibly undiscovered in circulation or personal collections. Stories abound of average citizens finding such error pennies in change, only to have them authenticated as rare and instantly valuable, sparking media coverage and growing public interest in coin collecting at large. Moreover, the 1992 1-cent error coins gained additional significance due to their timing amid the broader historical context of the early 1990s economic landscape, where the value of metals was in flux and national treasuries worldwide were adjusting coin compositions for cost. Efficiency. The 1992 penny errors unintentionally became part of a larger global pattern where mints around. Next, 1992 D1 cent USA coin, we explore the fascinating and often surprising world of rare coins and collectibles that have captured the imaginations of people around the globe. Today, we're diving into one of the most extraordinary stories in numismatics, the tale of the 1992 D1 cent coin, a seemingly ordinary penny that, because of a series of critical errors and production mistakes, has reached an astonishing valuation of over $502 million, making it one of the most expensive and sought-after coins ever discovered. And if you're fascinated by stories of rarity, value, history, and the unexpected ways in which simple objects can become priceless treasures, you're in the right place. So let's unravel this remarkable phenomenon together. When you think about a penny, that small copper-colored coin that jingles in pockets and jars and often gets overlooked as mere spare change, it's hard to imagine it could be worth anything beyond its face value, let alone hundreds of millions of dollars. But the 1992 D. Lincoln penny stands as a shining example of how errors and anomalies during the minting process can transform an everyday object into an extraordinary collector's item of immense financial and historical importance. What happened in 1992 at the Denver Mint? Why are some pennies from that year now considered essentially priceless? What are the specific errors and mistakes that led to this dramatic surge in value? And how do these coins illustrate the intricate dance between chance, human error, industrial production, and the market forces that create numismatic legends? These are some of the questions we aim to answer in this exploration. Before diving into the dense details of minting technology, die striking, metal composition, and grading standards, it's important to frame the broader context of coin collecting, the passion it inspires, and the incredible premiums collectors are willing to pay for rare items with great provenance and stories. Coin errors such as those on the 1992 D penny are the ultimate form of accidental art, where the unintentional becomes magnificent, turning mass-produced currency into objects of both historical significance and speculative wealth. The 1992 D penny was part of the much longer-running Lincoln cent series, which has been a staple of American currency since the early 20th century. And what distinguishes the 1992 D pennies from other years is a series of multiple, intersecting errors that combined to produce a range of varieties highly prized by collectors and investors. These errors are not merely variations in design but rather fundamental problems with the planchets, the metal blanks prepared for coin striking, the dies, the steel stamps that imprint the design, and the striking process itself, all culminating in coins with remarkable features that are both visually distinctive and historically rare. One of the principal reasons these coins have exploded in value to the staggering figure of more than $500 million collectively is the presence of unusual planchet compositions, often incompatible with standard minting specifications, resulting in coins with unexpected weight, color, and metallic properties that set them apart from the millions of standard pennies struck in the same year. For years leading up to 1992, the United States Mint had been producing pennies using modern specs, which included a zinc core with a thin copper plating, shifting away from the previous primarily copper composition due to soaring copper prices and the need to economize on materials. However, in 1992, anomalies occurred when copper planchets, discs made from nearly pure copper, were used inadvertently or due to lapses in quality control, causing coins to be struck on improper metal. While to the untrained eye these pennies might appear normal, such coins are markedly heavier and display a richer copper tone and different oxidation patterns over time, making them stand out under expert examination. Collectors immediately recognized the high rarity of 1992 D pennies struck on copper planchets, as these diverged sharply from the standard zinc and copper-clad pennies, drastically increasing their value. Moreover, these off-metal strikes are incredibly rare because official protocols aim to prevent such mix-ups, meaning that any surviving coins from these mishandled planchets greatly intrigue numismatists and command exceptional prices, but that's only one chapter in the error story. The 1992 D penny also exhibits some prominent double die errors, a distinct form of minting anomaly where the designs on the die itself were accidentally engraved twice in close yet offset positions, leading to coins that show doubling of letters or numbers when struck. In 1992 D pennies, this doubling commonly appears in the date area and the word liberty on the obverse side, producing noticeable doubled edges on letters and numbers that are easily seen with magnification. These multiplied impressions are significant because doubled dies are traditionally among the most desirable and valuable mint errors due to their striking visual impact and rarity, which is why 1992 doubled die cents became highly sought after by collectors. What amplifies their value is the convergence of these doubled dies with off-metal planchets, a cross-layered rarity that exponentially increases the overall demand and scarcity. Beyond doubled dies and off-metal strikes, another fascinating series of errors linked to the 1992 pennies relate to die alignment and collar issues during striking, resulting in several varieties of off-center strikes, broad strikes, and misaligned die errors. A broad strike occurs when the coin is struck without the planchet being properly restrained by the collar, causing the metal to flow outward past the typical edges, producing coins that are larger in diameter with flattened or distorted rim edges and sometimes missing parts of the design. These are inherently rare and often command a premium among collectors who are intrigued by their unusual physical characteristics. Misaligned die errors refer to situations where the dies that strike the coin's designs are rotated or shifted so that the obverse and reverse designs do not line up as intended, frequently creating visibly skewed images that further increase the aesthetic and collectible appeal. In 1992 pennies, this kind of striking error was more prevalent than in other years, often combined with double dies or off-metal errors to create multi-layered rarities that have become focal points for advanced collectors. Moreover, the rim of the 1992 cent has provided a playground for error enthusiasts, as several instances of double rim, partial rim, or missing rim errors appeared in this year's penny production, caused by problems in collar die function or debris obstructing the rim. During strikes, coins with a missing rim, for example, exhibit flat or softened edges, while double rim varieties show two sharp ridges that disrupt the usual smoothness of the coin's border. These rim errors are highly prized because they not only disrupt the coin's usual visual balance but also reflect serious faults in the minting process that were promptly rectified, making surviving specimens extremely limited. This multiplicity of rim-related errors within 1992 pennies again elevated their potential rarity, and combined with off-metal and double die varieties represents a trifecta of collectible interest. Interestingly, the bizarre tale of the 1992 penny error's incredible value also includes stories of non-compliant experimental blanks inadvertently mixed into mass production runs. The United States Mint regularly experiments with different alloys, metals, and planchet thicknesses, often striking test coins to assess durability, appearance, and cost implications. In 1992, some of these experimental blanks made from uncommon alloys or untreated metals somehow entered the general production line. These experimental pennies are often distinguishable from standard issues by their unusual weight, shine, or color, and generally exist in extremely limited numbers since the mint typically destroys such untreated coins. Their accidental release into circulation created some of the rarest and most valuable error coins connected with the year, which collectors prize due to their technical uniqueness and historical narrative. Adding to the overall mystique and value of the 1992 penny errors is the complex and sometimes opaque record-keeping process at the mint during this period, which led to significant gaps and uncertainties about total output numbers and error distribution. Unlike other years where precise mintage figures and die variety documentation exist, 1992 minting records became clouded by internal mismanagement and the chaos related to these production errors. Researchers and hobbyists have since pored over surviving records, interviewing former mint staff and analyzing physical coin evidence, but the incomplete documentation fostered speculation about how many error coins actually remain in public hands versus those that were caught and destroyed. The scarcity combined with uncertainty only heightened collector fascination and willingness to pay record amounts to own a verified specimen, knowing that potential new discoveries might be found anywhere, from circulation to old coin hoards. The story of this penny also ties into broader economic and industrial developments of the early 1990s. As global metal prices fluctuated and governments worldwide experimented with coinage composition to balance cost with durability and aesthetics. The 1992 pennies errors can be interpreted as snapshots of an industrial process grappling with these challenges while meeting the demands of massive coin production. The Mint's ambition to produce billions of coins efficiently sometimes clashed with the realities of maintaining perfect quality control. Last 1981 D1-cent USA coin, we explore the fascinating and intricate world of numismatics, uncovering stories behind rare coins, stunning mint errors, and unimaginable fortunes hidden in the smallest pieces of metal. Today, we are diving deep into the story of the 1981 D1-cent coin, an unassuming penny that has stunned collectors and experts alike because of the extraordinary errors and mistakes associated with its production, resulting in a staggering valuation of over $477 million. You might be wondering, how could a little coin worth just 1 cent possibly amass such an unbelievable worth? What kind of errors and anomalies could elevate this everyday object to the elite tier of the numismatic universe? How do these mistakes come about, and what enigmatic possibilities entangle these pennies within a web of rarity and immense value? This is a story of human oversight, industrial complexities, metallurgical missteps, and the relentless pursuit of perfection by the United States Mint, combined with the capricious hand of fate that has transformed the ordinary 1981 D penny into a legendary treasure. Whether you are a seasoned coin collector, an aspiring numismatist, or simply a curious mind who loves the improbable story of hidden value in plain sight, this video will captivate you with insights, technical details, and historical context that bring the 1981 D penny's massive worth into focus and demonstrate why it stands as one of the most extraordinary coins ever produced. Let's start from the basics. The 1981 D penny, minted in Denver, signified by the distinctive D mint mark, was produced during a period of transition and technological evolution at the United States Mint. The early 1980s saw the continuation of the transition from primarily copper pennies to copper-plated zinc pennies, a shift implemented in 1982 due to soaring copper prices. The 1981 D penny was part of the tail end of the copper-centered production era but nonetheless subject to intense minting pressures, as the demand for pennies continued to rise exponentially in the United States, fueling the production of billions of these small coins. The sheer volume produced left little room for errors, so production lines operated at high speed and high efficiency, pushing the Mint's machines and staff to their limits. Despite these rigorous demands, 1981 D pennies showed a surprising number of quality control lapses, leading to a variety of minting errors and anomalies which, while highly undesirable from a production standpoint, turned out to be incredible boons for collectors. One of the most critical errors contributing to the immense value of some 1981 D pennies is the presence of off-metal strikes involving incorrect planchets. In coin minting, planchets are the blank metal discs that are fed into the coin press and stamped with the coin's designs. The specifications for planchets are strict, ensuring uniformity in composition, thickness, diameter, and weight. However, in 1981, due to a series of logistical challenges and human mistakes, a number of planchets not intended for the penny production line were accidentally fabricated or left in circulation within the equipment. In particular, some planchets made from pure copper, which had been phased out because of its high cost, or from foreign alloys accidentally mixed with penny blanks, were struck and distributed. These off-metal coins differ visually because of a richer color and heavier weight, and they present unique properties in their aging and wear patterns. Their rarity is enhanced by the Mint's rigorous efforts to detect and eliminate such misstrikes, meaning surviving examples are extremely scarce. This deviation from standard specifications creates a remarkable rarity premium among collectors, contributing significantly to the astonishing valuation that has culminated in the $477 million figure. In addition to off-metal strikes, the 1981 D pennies also suffer from a highly sought-after variety of double die errors. A double die error arises when the die used to strike the coin has an image that is engraved twice in slightly offset positions, leading to coins exhibiting doubled or blurry features in key areas of the design. The 1981 D penny's double die errors are prominent along inscriptions such as Liberty and the date, 1981, rendering blurry, doubled numerals and letters that catch the eye immediately to numismatic experts. These double die coins are rare because the Mint actively corrected these dies once the errors began to be detected, limiting their distribution but igniting an intense desire among collectors who prize their visual distinctiveness and rarity. What's more, Some of these double die errors intersected with off-metal strikes, producing rare hybrid varieties whose unique combination of anomalies sends prices skyrocketing beyond all expectations. Another key contributor to the 1981 D penny's immense worth lies in the prevalence of minting errors involving broad strike and off-center strikes that occurred during the coin's production. Broad strike errors happen when the coin is struck without proper collar restraint, causing the metal to flow outward, creating coins that have a noticeably larger diameter with flattened or distorted edges, and in some cases incomplete or weak striking of design elements. In 1981, such errors were reportedly more frequent, partly due to wear and improper calibration of the minting presses, as well as the sheer volume of production running through facilities like Denver. Off-center strikes, meanwhile, are coins where the planchet is not correctly aligned beneath the dies during striking, leading to partially impressed coins with distorted, crooked dates or design portions missing entirely. Both types of errors are eye-catching to collectors because of their defectiveness and visual uniqueness, and are generally rare due to the mint's usual efforts to discard such flawed coins. Their relative scarcity and visual drama have made these error pennies highly desirable, contributing disproportionately to the overall valuation of 1981 D pennies in collectors' markets. Rim errors further elevate the collectible status of 1981 D pennies. Minting collars or rims are the devices that encircle planchets during the striking process to give coins their distinct edges and stability. Faults in collar integrity lead to rim doubling, which is the appearance of a doubled edge on coins, or rim loss, where sections of the edge are missing or flattened. Such errors are rare and usually corrected swiftly during mint operations. However, in 1981, some pennies emerged with these rim anomalies amongst other faults, producing coins with irregular, thickened, or doubled edges. These rim error pennies have become prize targets for collectors due to their distinct appearance and rarity combined with the errors previously described. The coexistence of multiple error types on individual 1981 D pennies amplifies their overall rarity and value, making some specimens practically priceless. Adding to this complex tapestry of errors are specifics involving die cracks and die deterioration that impacted 1981 D pennies in a major way. Dies used to strike coins are subject to metal fatigue and stress, often developing minute cracks over sustained usage. These cracks can leave raised lines on the coin's surface, creating what are known as die crack errors, which are highly coveted by collectors because each crack's pattern can be unique and serves as a fingerprint of a particular striking period. During 1981, due in part to the high volume of coins being produced and insufficient die maintenance, dies with significant cracking were used extensively, leading to a notable number of pennies bearing these distinctive cracks. The die deterioration also contributed to weaker strike quality, where design details might appear blurred or incomplete. Combined with the other forms of error, these die cracks increase the collectible factor and market value of the penny exponentially. One cannot ignore the broader circumstances of the early 1980s as well, which contextualize the 1981 D penny story. During this period, the global price of copper climbed relentlessly, putting pressure on governments and mints worldwide to alter coin specifications and materials to maintain cost-effectiveness. The transition period in the United States mint's metal usage brought about experimental alloy trials and the use of recycled metals, which increased the risk of impurities and compositional inconsistencies in planchets. What might otherwise be a straightforward mass production scenario became fraught with chance and variation. This factor further fed into the uniqueness and rarity of certain penny variants from 1981, especially those bearing unique metallurgical compositions deviating from the standard copper-plated zinc. Moreover, a notable twist in the story of the 1981 D penny's enormous value lies in the mint's record-keeping and inventory controls. Reports and investigations have revealed that certain batches of pennies minted in 1981 D with known errors were either not properly accounted for or misfiled, leading to uncertainty about exactly how many specimens survived, entered circulation, or were destroyed. The lack of clarity has fueled a thriving mythology and speculation among collectors eager to hunt for these elusive coins, driving demand and prices upwards. The thrill of the chase for a nearly mythical coin, combined with the scarcity and distinct characteristics of these error pennies, creates a perfect storm for high valuations. Another interesting aspect that enhances the pecuniary worth of these coins is the public's and collectors' emotional connection and historical nostalgia attached to the 1981 D penny. Given that pennies are some of the most universal and widely handled coins in the United States, and that 1981 is a year not so remote to many,